Today on CityCast Philly. In case you've been living under a rock, the Phillies are in the playoffs. They're facing the Miami Marlins at Citizens Bank Park this week for a 3-game wildcard series. If you're lucky enough to catch a home game this Red October, we have your guide to making the most of it. Back in June, host Trinae Nuri talked with a local sports journalist about how to have a home run experience at the ballpark. It's Wednesday, October 4th. I'm Abby Fritz, filling in for Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about.
OJ Spivey, you're a sports contributor for the Philadelphia Tribune. Take me out to the ball game, OJ. Describe the perfect scene of a perfect game at the Phillies.
Well, first of all, when you go to Citizens Bank Park in South Philly, it's a great atmosphere. It's a great ballpark. It's one of the retro ballparks that were built turn of the century, early 2000s. So you have that there. You have the ambiance. And no matter where you sit just about, you have the ambiance of seeing the skyline, the beautiful Philadelphia skyline, which continues to grow as the years go by. And it also gives you a feel of a classic ballpark. And what I like about going down there, and it's always a great family atmosphere as well. It's a great place to take your family. The Philly staff is always great. So whenever I go to Citizens Bank Park, no matter how good or bad the team is, I always have a good time.
That's great. Okay, what's a home run for you? Let's start with maybe when you first walk in, what's something that you got to do first?
First thing is, I like to get to the ballpark early. Because it's not, first of all, it's not as much traffic. And also, too, it gives you time to find your way around the ballpark, especially if you're a first timer or if you're taking someone with you for the first time. And the Phillies are great on their history as well. So they have many places where you can walk around and hang out, see the ballpark, as well as their Wall of Fame. They have an area where you can see their retired numbers. They have statues of their all-time greats like Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton. And hopefully someday we'll probably see guys like Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins, who won the World Series for them back in 2008. But there are so many great things. They actually have a play area for kids. So it's almost like a mini amusement park for kids and everything. Right. So that's one of the incentives to just kind of get there early if you want to take in the game, if you want to pay so much attention to the game.
Okay, so we walk into the stadium, we're walking to our seats. Where's the best seat at Citizens Bank Park?
Well, for me, I don't think there's a bad seat in the house. But for me, I like to sit right behind home plate. Of course, they're the more expensive seats. But here's the caveat to that. If you go in the upper level, in the upper deck, they're a little cheaper. But again, what's fun for me, what I mentioned before, is you get a great view of the whole entire ballpark and you get a great view of the skyline. Especially in the evening as the sun goes down and the lights start to come on and you get a good look at the big scoreboard too. So that's one of my favorite spots. But pretty much the ballpark is constructed to where you always get a nice view of the field no matter where you sit.
Right. And if you actually sit on that first level near the home plate, you can also see the big giant bell that we have that rings every time there's a home run.
Yes, the gigantic bell, which lights up, it stays lit for the whole game. So that's a great thing, too. And it also rings after every victory as well. So that's always a fun thing for fans to see as well.
Okay, now speaking of sounds, each of the players have their own walkout songs. What can we expect to hear if we're at the baseball game?
Well, what I like about this era of baseball players, these guys are very into the culture. And, you know, a lot of these guys are maybe from small towns or maybe from the country. So you'll hear anything from country music, but you'll also hear your share of hip hop. You'll hear some R&B. You'll hear a variety of different things because these guys, this generation, they're all in tune.
Yeah, someone had a song and I just opened my Shazam app and I was like, Shazam this, because I had never heard the song before. So it was pretty cool.
Well, it's a cool thing as well, too, Trinae, because what teams like the Phillies and our other Philly sports teams, what they'll do, especially pregame, they may give you the playlist of the players' walk-up
Oh.
songs. They may do it. If you get there early enough, you'll see it on the scoreboard pregame, and they may even give you a QR code to access the music on your apps and everything. So it's all interactive. So that's another great thing as well.
Okay, so I'm learning something here. There's a theme. Get there early.
Yes, yes.
Okay, what are some other like essential things I should maybe bring to the ballpark? Should I bring a baseball hat? What about a baseball mitt for the kids?
Well, yes, those are essentials. Those are traditional essentials. But one thing I don't want to forget, I don't want to miss, is bring sunscreen.
Okay.
Because, of course, Citizens Bank Park is not a dome stadium. And I know they also have different stations at the ballpark where you can access sunscreen for free. But I would say bring that
cool.
along with your hat, maybe a visor. And, if you want to get there early and watch batting practice, it's good to bring a glove as well, because you might just, get a baseball or get a souvenir. And some people like to bring their own food, which the ballpark allows you to do so, because sometimes you may have some type of dietary restrictions, or you want to bring your own bottled water, different things like that. You don't want to go on the website and make sure that what you want to bring is not restricted, but they're pretty lenient as far as what you can bring.
See, that I didn't know. I didn't know you could bring your own food. And speaking of food, when I went to the ballpark recently, I was like, you know what? I'll splurge on the food and the drinks.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite restaurant or stand that you like to go to when you're at the park?
Well, first thing is, when you go to the ballpark, this is another essential. Don't count calories that day. You're gonna cheat. Your diet is just gonna go straight out the window, because this is not your father's concession stand. This is not your father's stadium where you're just relegated to just popcorn, hot dogs, peanuts. Of course, they have those as well. But one of my favorites is going to the barbecue stand and get me a nice large turkey wing. Of course, yes. So all types of barbecue. They had the Bulls barbecue there. Also, I like getting a nice chicken sandwich. And again, you're not relegated to just the regular traditional food. It's just so many varieties. And what's great about it as well is it's so many varieties of what Philly is known for. You can get the best cheesesteaks in town. If you want the crab fries, as we know, you can get that as well.
Crab fries with the cheese dipping sauce.
Yes, and you can even get funnel cake. Like, funnel cake is one of my favorites. So, I like me a good sandwich or a good turkey leg, or, and I want to finish it off with maybe some ice cream or some funnel cake, or maybe some ice cream on the funnel cake. So,
ooh, okay. Okay, so now we got our seats, we got our food, we got our snacks, and obviously there's people probably drinking beer or, sodas and things like that. What else might we see? So last time I was there, I saw a bunch of kids like going to this really small part of the stadium.
Yes.
And they were talking with the ball girls.
Yeah. So another thing, again, the Phillies have always been great as far as programs for kids. And I forget the actual name of it, but it's actually a miniature ballpark within the stadium where kids can go and play wiffle ball. And if you're lucky on a said theme day, you may play wiffle ball with one of the Phillies greats or one of the retired players. They may, stop by and try to play with the kids or give some autographs or different things like that.
Nice. Now we got the ball girls, and then of course one of the main attractions of a Philadelphia Phillies baseball game. The Fanatic comes on his four-wheeler across the field. What are some of your favorite memories of the Fanatic?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to meet the Fanatic a number of times, whether it's at a game or different events and everything. And, he's a nice guy. They call him Friend of the Fanatic, but he's a great guy and he's a staple. And, the kids love him. And again, the adults want to take photos with him as well. So
right.
It's just always great when he's around.
And we actually have an episode that people can listen back to. We talked with a sports writer from ESPN about where we got the Fanatic and how the Fanatic is actually a model for other mascots in baseball and in sports. So I also, before we get to the next session, I got to let everyone know that OJ is sporting some nice gear. He's got a red Phillies hat and a classic Phillies jersey. Whose jersey are you wearing?
I'm actually wearing Bryce Harper's jersey. And during this time, when I'm in the press box and everything, they always had a rule, no cheering in the press box. But me being a Philadelphia native, just for talking to you, Trinae, I'm able to wear my Phillies gear. So...
Now, I'm going to take you back to the time when the vet was up and running, okay? That was my first time going to a Phillies baseball game. And I just remember there was the fireworks. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I was like 7 or something like that. Yes. And I remember my mom gave me a bag of Doritos and I lost a tooth that night. So... special moments in my life. Anyway, OJ, I love baseball traditions, like, doing the wave, and seeing everyone, like, you just kind of come together. Are there any, like, Philly fan traditions that you like to do?
Other than boo, that's the number one thing you got to do. Because, being a Philly fan, you're trained to boo as far as one of your first words as a baby. So when you're bored,
it's like usually dada and boo.
Yes. So, well, one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure, as a Philly fan, you're almost an extra coach. So if you watch your team kind of dogging it a little bit, or they're not hustling and everything, you want to let them hear it, maybe without booing, but you want to let them know to just give your best effort. Mm-hmm. And of course, you always want to give it to the other team. So, and, let them know how bad they are and everything. So that's kind of like my favorite tradition.
All right. That was OJ Spivey, Philadelphia Tribune sports contributor. Thank you so much for all these recommendations on how to enjoy a Phillies game this summer. And thanks for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thanks, Trinae. Always a pleasure.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode, tell a friend who's lucky enough to get some Phillies tickets. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter too, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.